a program called Letting Go Secrets, the path of ease to a happy, successful life, or a successful, happy life. And I came up with this program because I realized that the clients were coming to me had emotional issues. And I was like, well, how do I help them in a different way? And so I came up with this program to help people understand that it's actually easy to let things go. Things that you have unresolved, grief, anger, fear, for years, you can actually let this go. And so that's really, so this is all inspirational to let you know that it's easier than you think. Okay, so what my goal is, or what I claim, or I guarantee for you, I guess, is letting go. You can let go of emotional blocks permanently without talk therapy. So this is our normal go-to, is like we just go to a therapist and we talk out. And I think that works. I'm not saying that doesn't work, but these blocks are energy, and I'm going to get to that. But so if you don't address your issue at the energetic core, you're not going to be completely and permanently releasing things. So that's why I know it's different way of thinking about things, and so I'm going to tell you about everything is energy in a minute. Okay, so my goal is to explain that letting go of emotional issues will elevate your state of being and your life. Okay. And if you stay to the end, I'll give you a bonus. So as I said, my method is very different, and it can shift emotional issues at their energetic core. So who am I? Why would you listen to me? Well, I have an advanced energy medicine certification, and I'm also an energy mastery practitioner. So I have several modalities. I've actually also worked with other energy gurus and ascended masters. So I have just taken off. I'm like a sponge, and I want to learn as much as I can, because I feel like even though I have all this information, there's still so much more. And it's exciting. It's really exciting. I feel like I'm on the edge of what's coming next. And so I want to share it. And I've also been able to transform my life by releasing my emotional issues, energetic imbalances, and I've also gotten rid of limiting beliefs of my own. And I feel that everybody has limiting beliefs, and listen, it's holding you back. And my level of consciousness has increased significantly. And I know you may not understand that now, but you will by the end. And I'm able to create what I want in my life. And this was kind of a shock to me, because I was taking classes, of course, to be able to do that. And my mentor at the time said, well, you should teach a class on manifesting. And I'm like, I'm not going to teach a class on manifesting unless I prove that I can do it. And, just like you may be thinking, well, like she can do it, but I can't do it. And that's what I was saying. Okay, well, I know you can do it, but I don't think I can do that. And I actually have done pretty significant manifesting without, almost I kind of understand it afterwards. But anyway, so that's not about this. That's not what I'm going to talk about today. But I did, so you understand that I have really been able to significantly change my life. And I want to share basically how I've done it. And I've been on this path, and I call this my path of divine wisdom, for the past 8 years. And because I've been working on myself for these past 8 years, everything I teach is possible. So, and it's what I said, I can't teach it unless I've proven it to myself. And so, and the other thing I want to say here is everything is based on scientific principles. So people, talk to me and like, how can you? So I was a research scientist before I did this. I have a PhD in microbiology. And they're like, how can you talk about this woo-woo stuff, or whatever they call it, and you were a scientist? And I'm like, yeah, and this is science. This is really emerging science. Even though it's been available for a long time, people are just starting to pay attention to it. So now I want to share these elevated teachings with others, and I want to guide people to transform their lives, because it's much more exciting and much more fun to live at this higher frequency, because you actually attract into your life at the level that you are. So whatever you're admitting or putting out in the world in terms of energy frequencies, that's the energy that comes back to you. And this is, you may understand this as the law of attraction. So what I know to be true is we are all meant for greatness. We have a specific contribution to make, and sometimes it takes a lifetime to figure that out, because life experiences can block us from this greatness and figuring out our main mission. So we have to be open, and sometimes we get caught in like downward spirals. But actually, sometimes these life experiences actually can help lift us up through and understand things at a very different level. So everything happens for a reason. So just trust. So now, knowing what I know now, I know I took the longer pathway to transform my vibration and my level of consciousness. I took the hard and long way. And what I want for you is I want you to be free to be your best and magnificent self. So I help people find freedom the easy way. So do you want the easy way to release your emotional blocks at their core without reliving the trauma through talk therapy? Good. Okay. So now let's just take a moment, and I want you to imagine, what would it be like to let go of emotional baggage and feel the freedom to move forward, be happy, and make a difference in the world without effort, without any struggle? Imagine what that would be like. Just like you could just lift off the backpack of that burdensome weight and walk away and be able to do what you want. Does that feel pretty amazing? Okay, so in the past week, I've been able to help clients step into a higher level of being, of consciousness. I've helped people to learn how to heal their illness with their thoughts. I've helped people let go of emotional pain that was stuck in the physical body, and to remove emotional trauma stuck in the layers of their chakras. Now, I'm not going to go into explaining that, and I'm not really saying, okay, look at me, what I could do. I'm just giving that as an idea that it's possible. This is all possible. You know, this is like routine. This is, and this is what I want for everyone, because if we work on ourselves, we actually lift up the whole world, because we're the sum, each one of us adds to the sum total of our consciousness and the way that our whole nation works and our whole universe works. So the more, I mean, like 15% of the people actually are responsible for the high level frequency that we have in our universe. So 85% bring down those 15, but you know, like you only need 15% to really be at a high level. But if more people were at a high level, it would be even better. Does that make sense? Okay, so now you might say, okay, so you did all this, so what did you have to let go of? Well, maybe a year ago, yes, about a year ago, someone accused me of something, and I was developing this whole program about how to let go, and I used it. So I think this is so interesting. Like, so when you develop things sort of on your own, the universe provides you with an opportunity to test your procedures or your processes. And so I had this situation where this person accused me, and she was actually a student. She accused me of doing something that I'm like, what? How do you, I mean, I couldn't understand how she could say this. And I was really shocked and very frustrated because I felt like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how, because she didn't have enough information, I guess, to really, I couldn't even have a conversation with her about it. But what I learned was that anyone could say anything about me, but that doesn't mean it was true. And I went through that period where I was like, okay, well, if she said it, it must be true. But I didn't consciously think that. I was just like, well, I have to defend myself. And I'm like, no, I really don't. I knew that I came from integrity and from a good place, from my heart. And I was like, I just have to let this go. Just because she said it doesn't mean it's true. And then I realized also that I could choose how to respond emotionally. And that way that I responded really only affected me. It didn't affect her. And I felt the freedom, and I'm now detached from the outcome. So there still hasn't been resolved. But anyway, so this is true. I mean, this is how you can think, and this is one way where you can just like, I'm not taking this on because I know this isn't true. And it's just a way of being connected to your true self, right? Sometimes we get lost, we get diverted from our path of who we really are and what we're really trying to do. So people can say anything they want, but doesn't mean it's true, and you don't have to take it on. So I hope that's empowering. Okay, so I have 3 secrets to share with you. The one is not really a secret because I already told you, but I just call them secrets because people don't really believe them or don't use them to their benefit. So secret number 1 is everything is energy. Everything. So this table is energy. It's vibrating, even though it feels solid, but it's not completely solid. There is a lot of space for the molecules to be moving around. And so, and we're energy beings. We are 95% of who we are energy fields. Only 5 to 10% of us are this physical matter. And what I want to focus on today are your thoughts, your feelings, your beliefs, and your emotions. So all of those are energy forms. Okay, so there's a universal law. I don't know if you guys know, there's a lot of universal laws. I teach a lot about universal laws because I think they're so cool, and the principles are all based on science. But so the universal law of energy, frequency, and vibration, and it states that everything vibrates. So this states that everything in the universe moves and vibrates. Everything is vibrating at one speed or another. Nothing is at rest. Everything you see around you is vibrating at one frequency or another, and so are you. And this is captured in the most famous formula, E = mc squared. So the E obviously stands for energy, M stands for mass or matter, and C squared is a constant of light. And so if you just remove the constant, it's like energy is mass and matter and mass are energy. So that's what that means. That's what Einstein meant by E = mc squared. So I like to be thinking like I'm Einstein, so I hope you do too. So everything is energy. So let's focus on emotions, thoughts, feelings, and beliefs. So the second secret is what you put out in the world comes back to you. So there's a really great book called The Game of Life by Florence Scovel Shinn. I don't know if anybody, it's a very small book. It was written in the 1920s, and it's all about universal laws. And what she means about the game of life, it's a boomerang. Life is like a boomerang. So what you put out in the world comes back to you. And, we use, you reap what you sow, or what goes around comes around. We have phrases for this, but we don't really understand. That's really based on energy, or really is based on real science. Okay, and I use this figure 8. So figure 8s, and this is like you may think it's an infinity sign, but it's also an 8. So what you're putting out comes back to you. So these blue balls or whatever, they're going to come back to you, right? So they're just going to go around. And this is what this symbolizes to me. It also symbolizes equal giving and receiving. So when we're in balance with the universe, we're receiving as well as giving. We're giving as well as receiving. So that has to be in balance. It has to be in equilibrium. Okay, so like a lot of people say to me, well, how do you, like, I get that, what I put out in the world comes back to me, but how do I know what I'm putting out in the world? By what's coming back to you. If you really are open and observing what is happening in your life, the reality of what's happening, then you know what you're putting out. And that's where you can say, well, I don't really want that to happen, so I got to put out something different, right? And this is true because the universe is a mirror. So the universe is consciousness. So you think that your consciousness and your subconscious and your superconscious, what I mean by superconscious is your higher self, it's all in your brain tissue. It is not. It's in your energy fields. Okay? There's a really famous experiment where the scientists wanted to find what part of the brain is the consciousness of a mouse trying to go through a maze. So they did some removal of parts of the brain, but they almost took the whole brain out, and the mouse could still run through the maze. And they realized, well, okay, the memory or the consciousness for this act is not in the brain. And that started them thinking about really what's going on. And we are connected through, we are connected to the universal consciousness. So our consciousness is in our energy fields and is connected to the whole universe. So, which means everything is available to us in every moment. So we think, oh, this person's lucky because she got this or he got that, but it's not. It's not that. It's really nothing to do with luck. It's about what you're putting out in the world and what comes back to you. So, okay. And you are a sum of all the vibrations of your thoughts, emotions, feelings, and beliefs. So, and we are a part of this bigger whole, as I talked about. Okay, so what this means is if you put out lower vibrations of fear, guilt, and shame, you get more fear, guilt, and shame vibrations back. And if that's what you want, then you're happy. But if you put out the higher vibrations of joy, love, and peace, you get more joy, love, and peace back. So I don't know about you, but that's really what I want in my life. So isn't it time to surrender the emotions that are holding you back? Doesn't it make sense to surrender? I love this word, surrender. Okay, so now secret number 3. Your frequency matters. So remember we talked about the universal law of frequency and vibration. So fear, guilt, and shame are a very low frequency. So if you put that out, you can only get that back. That is a scientific principle. So it matters. It really matters how you're, so that's why you can have a happy, successful life if you put out higher frequencies, okay? So this is an inside job. So to change something on the external, you have to change something in your internal world. So why do we hold on to emotions that do not serve us? Well, first of all, sometimes we don't even realize we're holding on to emotions that don't serve us. And so it's hard to let go of something you're not even aware of, because it could be decades that you've been holding on to this, and it just is so chronic it seems normal, but it isn't normal. But why? Sometimes we misinterpret what happens, or we decide that forgiveness is not possible in the moment or ever. I mean, I have clients that haven't talked to their brother for years or decades, and I'm like, why would you like, really? I mean, think about this. Why are you doing that? Why are you making that choice? And then they wonder why they're not successful in their business, or, or successful with their relationships, or their children. They have problems with their children, So in the case of misinterpretation, ask yourself if your interpretation is true. So I don't know if you know this book called Loving What Is, and it's by Byron Katie, and she has this whole program called The Work. And she's got 4 questions that she wants to ask everybody. And I don't know why, I can't remember the 3 other ones, but the first one is it true? And what she says in this book is like she never believes what her mind is telling her. She's never believing that, because she's found over and over and over, like when she asked that question, is it true? It's like, no, it's not true. So, just food for thought. Just ask yourself, is it really true? I'm thinking this, I may be misinterpreting it. So, is it true? Okay, so our inner world is our thoughts, feelings, emotions, and our beliefs. And what a belief is just a thought you've had over and over and over. And all these add up to your state of being or your level of consciousness. Okay. The inner produces the outer. So if you're inside, if you're happy and you're filled with joy and you're sharing love, that's pretty high vibrational frequency. And that will create more love, joy, and peace in your life. More of the same vibration. So if you want love, you have to give or be love. Now, what do I mean by that? Be love. Be the frequency of love, which is about 500. But you're going to see a chart in a minute. But it's not just loving, like random acts of kindness where you're sharing love. It's just like that's your default. That's who you are. You are that. So when you're alone, you're at that frequency. When you're with others, you're at that frequency. I mean, so you can't not be at that frequency. You see what I'm saying? That's who you are. That is being love. The same thing. If you want to be peace, if you want peace, you have to be peace. And Gandhi. Remember Gandhi's quote? You have to be the change you want to see in the world. This is what he really means. And if you want joy, you have to be joy. So love, joy, and peace are not something you draw from the world. They are in you. True love, joy, and peace lie within you. So this is a quote by Arthur Schopenhauer. And I love this because it really says it all. It's like, it's difficult to find happiness in oneself, but it is impossible to find it anywhere else. Let me say it again. So it's difficult to find happiness in oneself, but it is impossible to find it anywhere else. The only place you can find it is within you. It's that inside job. You have to create it yourself. You can't get it by buying a new house or buying a new car or having a new relationship. It has to start with you. So the key is letting go. So if you want more love, peace, and joy in your life, then you have to let go of emotional issues that are holding you back from that state of being. Okay. And you may have a belief that it's hard to let go. But the truth is, it isn't hard to let go if you understand the benefits of letting go, the downsides of holding on, and the ease of letting go methods. So what you don't have to do is you don't have to meet with someone weekly to talk about your emotional issues. And what you don't have to do is you don't have to relive emotional traumas and risk the trauma getting stuck or embedded more deeply in your energy fields. And what you don't have to do is sever a relationship or stop seeing someone. You don't need to get a divorce. You don't have to wall yourself off from people involved. And you don't have to continue to be stuck behind a wall of blocked emotional energy. And you don't have to be alone in your misery. So if you don't forgive and bless the situation, then you are in the blame game. And blame will come back to you. The energy of blame is very sticky, and it will come back to you. So if you're putting blame out, you're going to You have to expect the blame is going to come back to you. Okay, so here's this book. I don't know if you've ever heard of this book, Power versus Force. This is written by David Hawkins. He was an MD and a PhD, and in it, he talks about how he developed this clinically proven map of consciousness, the hidden determinants of human behavior. Okay, so here it is. So it's actually 17 different states, and if you look in the middle, there's numbers, and it's a logarithmic scale from 0 to 1,000. You see at the bottom there's shame, and at the top there's enlightenment. And there's not every state you can imagine, but these are the 17, I guess, the most prominent ones that he found. It took him 30 years to create this, to test for it and to create it. So this is what I've been talking about. So if you're down here, so you can see this dotted line in the middle. So it brings you, if you're up in the top, that's where you've got your power. And this is like the inner strength. And it's also creative energy. It's life-giving. Everything below this dotted line is like anti-life. It weakens you, and you're forcing things. You're at the force energy. Okay, and so next to that number is sort of the labels that I use, from shame up to enlightenment. Okay, so we'll come back to this. So let's look at what shame looks like. I have pictures. So while we're going through these slides, just kind of think where you land in any of these, right? Where are you in this present state of your life? So shame, she doesn't want anyone to see her. She can't show her face. And apathy, it's kind of the same thing, but like, I don't care. I don't care what you have to say. I'm not going to listen to you. I don't care. I'm negative. You can't change my mind, right? Then it goes, well, Einstein says, the world won't be destroyed by those who do evil, but by those who watch them without doing anything. So people that are apathetic. Grief, another woman that can't show, just so filled with sadness, she just has to cover her eyes, probably crying, right? So fear. You know, I don't know about you, but I just can't watch this picture for very long. The eyes are really, says a lot. Who knows what she's looking at, but that's what fear looks like. The enemy is fear. We think it's hate, but it's fear. And I have to say that most of the people that have come to me with emotional states have fear. So what I see is people are fearful, then they say I'm stuck, or I'm paralyzed, or I can't reach my goals. I'm kind of in this in-between place. And then some people actually even have a health issue related to that, emotional issues. And so I kind of put this together because I was working with some marketing person, and they were like, well, who comes to see you? I'm like, well, they come for all different reasons, you know. And he said, you know, it's worth going through the people that come to you regularly and see if you can find a theme. And I'm like, oh, right, here's another exercise, you know. But it was actually very helpful because I did see this pattern. And you know, what I'm suggesting is that you don't have to wait till you get the health issue. Let's take care of the problem, you know, at the emotional state where, you know, like, okay, I have this fear, so let me get rid of it before I feel totally stuck or totally paralyzed in this situation, and I don't have to get sick to then have this big wake-up call. Okay, now you got to get rid of the illness and the fear or whatever it is. You know, there's a way to deal with it before it actually progresses. Okay, so let me just, to make it clear about, so when you're optimally healthy, you are open to energy flowing in and out of your energy field. So your heart energy probably goes out farther than any other energy in your body, and that's 15 feet. At least they can measure it to 15 feet. It may actually go out farther, but so 15 feet from you, you go out at least 15 feet. That's kind of cool. But if we're closed off, what happens is it all kind of collapses around you. In fact, you know that the saying that we have about wallflowers, you know, like, oh, there's the wallflower, and they're like I remember it in middle school dances, you know, they're actually backing up against the wall, right? Because they want to be invisible. So they're actually, and you don't really notice them. They don't want to be noticed, and you don't really notice them, right? Because their energies have collapsed around them. And so you don't notice them. And that's what happens. But optimally healthy means that you're open to energy. So you use up energy. Energy comes in and you use it, and then you want it to go out. You want to be revitalizing, refreshed all the time, so that you can stay high frequency and not get closed in, like not stopped, not blocked. And that's what I actually call it the wall, because I see it, like especially right here in people, it's just like it's hard to get rid of this blockage. And it feels like concrete on people. Okay. All right, so anger. This is what anger can do, and I think this is even rage, but anyway, that's what anger is. Oh, and pride. So pride is pretty high up on the bottom part. Pride comes before the fall, so stay humble. Now, here's something that when I read this, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so true, and we forget, if we're really prideful, or we want to maintain our belief or whatever and try to convince somebody. But it's okay to lose your pride over someone you love, but don't lose someone you love over your pride. And now courage is, after that dotted line. So now we're up in the upper scale, where we get the inspiration, we get the inner strength. And here's somebody that's climbing up this rock, this mountain that's a rock, and you just feel his determination and his courage, and he's got the strength within to do this. And then willingness is right up from that. And there's only one thing required to change your life: willingness. I believe you need willingness, but I think you need a few other things too. But yeah, willingness is, you've got to be open, you've got to be willing to make changes. And then acceptance. So all these words mean acceptance: allow, agree, acknowledge, appreciate, release, open, understand, welcome, breathe, freedom, peace, strength, flow. I think when we get that, if you really understand that we're all on our own little journeys, doing our own little things to try to get our mission accomplished. The reason why we come into these physical forms is to evolve our soul, and we just have to allow that, everybody's doing what they need to do to accomplish what they need. So you can just open up to allowing them being where they should, even though they may be off track, but maybe being off track is the best transformation for them. Okay, so acceptance is, the curious paradox is that when I accept myself just as I am, then I can change. So it's not when you're resisting who you are. It's like, okay, I've got these faults. I'm accepting this, but now it's time to really meet them and let go. Okay, and understanding is the first step in acceptance, and only with acceptance can there be recovery. And here's love. So now this is like 500. Okay, so I was talking about the heart energy. I just love, there's so many aspects of the heart energy. There's the heart chakra, there's the heart meridian, there's heart electrics, it's also a part of this fire rhythm. And it's just, when you understand about the heart, I feel like all that I've read, I feel that the heart is the regulator of our bodies, not the brain. The brain is like a relay station. It gets the message from the heart, and the heart sends it to the brain, and then the brain sends it to whatever part of the body. Anyway, so your heart energy center is your key to your connection to the symphony of the universe and the I am presence. And the only thing that you need to do is open the door. I think that the most significant thing, one significant thing, is that if we just share our heart energy with others, we can change the world. We don't really need to do anything else. We can just be that love and share that frequency of love. We are making a significant change in the world. And the spiral is a very strong pattern of flow for energy. So that's why I really love that they captured that. And so it's just, I don't have to spend a lot of time on that, but I just love this. Okay, and joy. So these two people are just jumping for joy, and they're at a beach at sunset. So like, can it be more perfect than that, right? So they can just feel, you can just feel that energy, right? It feels good. And here I had to put this other, because this little girl is so cute. And you know, she's just coming from school. She's got her backpack, right? And she's crossing this bridge. Like this bridge represents to her freedom. When she gets to the other side of this bridge, she can take off that backpack and she can do anything she wants, right? I just think it's great, you know. And then peace. So, you know, we calm and tranquility. And if we could be like this for others, I mean, I think that's also a magnificent contribution to the world. And, I just heard something yesterday about, I can't remember it. Anyway, the lotus comes from the muck at the bottom of the pond. So such beauty can come from that. So to me, that is such a significant thing. We can all have peace. We can come from the muck in our lives and give peace. It's all possible. And then enlightenment. So this is the highest level, and not too many people reach this, but it's interesting because I know that I'm on the path to enlightenment, and I can remember like 20 years ago, I used to listen. The only time that I ever had alone was the time I was driving back and forth to work. So I always listened to these inspirational talks, and I was listening to, I think it was called The Path of Enlightenment, and it was Wayne Dyer and Deepak Chopra. And I remember saying to myself, oh my gosh, that's what I want. I want to be on the path to enlightenment. And then when I was putting this together and I remembered that moment, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm there. I mean, I'm not certainly, up to 1,000 or anywhere close to that, but maybe not even be in enlightenment, but I know that I am headed that way. But I did nothing consciously to put myself on that path. This is why I'm saying that this is kind of exciting way to live, because I didn't know how to do that. Like even though they were listening to these tapes, and I was like, how do you do that? I don't know how to do that, but I just thought, I want that. And then here I'm like putting this together. I was like, oh my gosh, I really am here. I am like open myself up to test my, hear new things and go deep on some of these things so I can let go of things and let these things, like just open up the pathway, I guess. Okay, so here's the wall. I talked about the wall. So the wall could be like the fear, grief, guilt, pride, desire, anger, shame, and apathy. So, and when you finally let go of the past, something better comes along. So this is, one aspect that if we hold on to the fear and grief, guilt, shame, then we are blocking all kinds of other things that can actually lift us up and help us live the kind of lives we really want. So does this make sense? So you have to let go to move forward. And here's just a picture of a little girl sending out love or letting go of this balloon, maybe sharing it with somebody else. And these birds to me represent, the negative energy that we hold on to, and just when you open up your hand, you can let them go. And it's basically that simple. You have to make a decision. You have to be willing. And then Eckhart Tolle says, sometimes letting things go is an act far greater power than defending or hanging on. So to me, letting go is about being free to be your true self and live into the magnificence of who you were created to be. You were divinely created. We all were. And when energy is free to flow, anything is possible. And that's, what I mean by that is I kind of went into the consciousness. We're connected to the consciousness. So, Bill Gates and Steve Jobs were connected to the same ideas that we are. Maybe we don't have the skills or the knowledge or whatever. Didn't have that training so that we couldn't kind of resonate with that. But if we did, we would have the same opportunity, right? So whoever you are and wherever your gifts are, and you will be connected to those same opportunities, to the opportunities that are specific for you, and all the others, but you're just going to resonate. So when I was talking about the universe being a mirror, it's also a bridge. So it helps. So what I think of is this consciousness it's like a divine matrix. So there's just like these energy pathways connected to every single person. Every person is connected. We're connected to all the animals. We're connected to the whole spiritual realm. We're connected to everything in nature, everything in our environment, and therefore anything is possible. Okay. So think about where you might land on this clinically proven map of consciousness. I'll just give you a minute to kind of think about it. And there's no judgment here because you can start anywhere and move up. And so that's what I'm asking. Like, if you resonate with any of the lower levels, are you willing to step in and change and to raise your level of consciousness? So again, universal law, everything vibrates. You vibrate, everything vibrates, we're all vibrating. E equals MC squared, that's what it means. And if you've raised your level of consciousness, what would that do for you? So let's say you're at fear. Like most of the people I talk to that come to me are fear. So if you got rid of that fear, what would that do for you? Just think about that. So if all this talk did was increase your understanding of your emotional block, would that be worth your time? If all this did was for you to understand there's an easier way to handle emotional issues, would that be worth it? And if all this did was to empower you to make a change in your life, would that be worth it? And if all this did was to show you could manifest what you want in life, would that be worth it? Okay, so just recap. So there's 3 secrets, I told you. Everything is energy. So now you know you are an energy being, and that's what I call it? Radiant divine energy. That's what we are. So the second secret is what you put out in the world comes back to you. So just be the observer and see, what am I putting out there, and observe what comes back so you know how to change. If you're happy with what's coming back to you, you don't have to change. But if you want something at a higher frequency, then you need to change, right? And it's all inside, right? And all the energy work I'm talking about, even though your fields are extended from you, I'm talking that's all a part of being your inner world. And your vibrational frequency or level of consciousness matters for your success and happiness. So you now understand you need to let go of whatever blocks to increase your level of consciousness. And your level of consciousness determines what you attract into your life. And what you're holding on to is only causing you pain, not anyone else. It's only causing you pain. And what you're holding on to is like a wall blocking you from success and happiness, what you really want. And the emotional issues that you're holding on are like negative energies, and these will keep you stuck. And I've researched proven processes to help you let go of negative energies, and they're all pretty easy. And I have a strategy using these different processes for improved effectiveness in letting go. So, now I remember I told you I would give you a bonus. So, I'm offering a 60-minute ultimate breakthrough session in person or on the phone or Zoom, but since you all live near here, so my office is in Hohokus, and this is one-on-one time with me, and we'll take a personal look at what is holding you back. I have like a lot of questions I ask people, so you can kind of see, like if it's fear, there are a lot of different aspects of fear, right? So we'll kind of hone in, and you can ask me anything. And today, this is going to be complimentary. And the goal is to get you at least to the next level, or at least a deeper understanding of why you can't get what you want, or why you're stuck, or why whatever. So we'll identify where you are starting on the map of consciousness. We'll identify where your truth center is in your physical body, so you understand how your body is communicating with you all the time. And then we'll identify a plan for you to move forward. Okay, so holding on is believing that there's only a past, but letting go is knowing there is a future. So forgive the past. It's over. Learn from it. This is the most important thing. Learn from it and let it go. People are constantly changing and growing. So this is the allow. Allow people to change and grow. Like it's all about human redemption. Like allow for people to redeem themselves. Do not cling to a limited, disconnected, negative image of a person in the past. See that person now. Your relationship is always alive and changing. Okay, so I'm going to have a sign-up sheet for you. But you also could go on my youcanbook.me site and sign up. But it'd be easier if you just sign up here. So I am open for questions. I know I did that pretty fast because I know they close at 8 o'clock. And does anybody have any questions? Yes, sure.
You're talking about letting go.
Yes.
That to me seems to be the hard part of what you're presenting.
Yes.
Because letting go is difficult.
Yes.
And you have suggestions.
Well, I have like 14 different ways of letting go.
Okay.
So so I've been researching it, but people just come to me, or I'm reading something, I was like, oh my gosh, there's another way. And what I realize is that maybe you need a different procedure if you're letting go of fear than if you are letting go of grief, or if you're letting go of shame. So that's why I think, but I'll share one aspect that I was kind of interested. Okay, so forgiveness is one. The concept is just being able to forgive, right? And here's a phrase that you can use. I forgive you, this if you're talking to a person, I forgive you for not being the person I wanted you to be or I needed you to be. So in other words, you kind of put the onus on you, like I expected something from you that you weren't able to give or to be. It's just a different way of thinking about it. That's one of the aspects of forgiveness that I talk about with people. So if you have a specific question, more specific, then I might be able to help you more specifically.
Actually, that was right on target.
Okay. See, okay, now that is the universe working. You see, that's what happens.
Oh my gosh.
I don't even know your name, right? So we've never met before, right? So there you go. Okay, that's what I love about this work. Like I don't know. I just, whatever comes to me is like, okay, I'll say this.
I mean, for me, it's more or less, am I willing to forgive you for not being the person I
Yeah, yeah.
that's-
But when you look at it, like if you look at it really deeply, it's like, how can I expect them to be something I need, right? So is that on them or is that on me? Right? It's cool, right? Okay. Anybody else? Yes.
I'm curious, is the idea to forgive them for not being what you needed them to be and then to find those things for yourself? I mean, what's the next step?
Well, I guess that would have to be a specific thing. But
Right.
so if you forgive them, then what else comes up? So that's maybe a whole nother emotional block, right? So that would,
Then where's
it's kind of like when I work with people's energy fields, it's like layers. Like usually the first, or the high, or the first things we have to get rid of is the stress in the body. And then these other things come up. So once, it's like it's peeling away the onion or taking off the layers of things. So, and that's another reason why I think I came up with all these different ways, because who knows what's, once you get rid of the fear, maybe that's the shame going to come up then. I don't know. I think, we're going to go up, but maybe we're not. Maybe we go down to something even deeper. I don't know. And everybody's different. Everybody's had completely different life experiences. And I just allow whatever's happening to happen, whatever is their pathway to healing is, we listen to the body. I honor and respect with the body. So I have a way of, communicating with the body so that I don't have to know. I don't want to know really, but what is the body telling us? How is the body guiding us? And when you understand that, you're living in a world where mind, body, spirit are all connected. And so it's really because we don't really talk about, in general, how the spirit works in us. But when that comes up, and I feel like the whole talking to the body is a very spiritual experience. I treat it like a very sacred thing. And it could be that I'm just removing pain from somebody's lower back, right? But, I don't know. It's such a, so I actually feel people's life force. I call it, the energy body. It's kind of like the life force in somebody. It's like really, I don't know, very sacred. Yeah. So I don't know. There's not like, it's not a formula. So, like when you think, well, if it's scientific, it has to be a formula. It doesn't really have to be a formula. If you're really observing, it can happen in any way. And if we try to put it into a box or a protocol, step 1, step 2, step 3, then we're going to miss the messages. Does that make sense to anybody? I don't know. I've never answered that question that way, but anyway. So I don't know. That's kind of part of the journey, the discovery. Like when we get rid of the fear or when we forgive somebody, what's going to happen next? I don't know. But let's allow anything to be. We can handle anything because it's just energy. Not that it's insignificant, but it's energy. So we know how to get rid of, we know how to shift energy. We know how to handle that. You're welcome.
I'm not sure if this question, but so can you skip all over the place in that chart? Is that what you're saying? Like, so let's say it's anger, and you get rid of the anger. Then all of a sudden, do you go to the next step, or do you jump up?
Well, see, I thought that's what you would do, and then you would have to do one step at a time.
Right.
But that's not what's happening.
Because I think when we spoke.
Yeah. I've tested. Well, I don't know how many people I've tested, but it's just like, oh, really? And, like this one, the first person I tested, I was kind of freaked out because she came up with shame. And she was horrified, absolutely horrified. So if you remember, shame is at the bottom. Just like a 20 out of 1,000, a logarithmic scale of 1,000. This is pretty low, right? And she was like, oh, like, trying to say, that's not true. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Oh my, all this stuff. And then 5 minutes later, she said, it's absolutely true. And we did one exercise, and I think I tested her 2 weeks later, and she was up to the level of love. And I was like, oh my gosh, is that really what can happen? Maybe the shame is, once you get rid of shame, you can just go right to it. I mean, I was like, oh my gosh. So I just, I had this one thing in mind, but I think anything can happen. Anything can happen. So, yes.
So just a similar question.
Yeah.
but you've shared that chart with me before, and my question is it this, like, in any moment, like, in each moment when I'm with a different person, I can kind of be at a certain place, but I can be triggered and then drop
Yeah.
immediately. So is it more like moment by moment, and it obviously depends on
I don't
the
think of it that.
person,
Yeah,
or-
I don't think of it that way because
Is it
remember I was talking
overall?
about your being, so it's like your default. So
Okay.
you can be pulled out, and but where are you going to go back after being pulled out? That's your default.
Okay.
Like that's your normal.
I see.
That's the 90% of your time. I don't know. I'm just guessing. I just know what I can do, and but how it happens for everybody, I think is different. I don't. Yeah. But it's just, it's been an amazing journey just putting all this together. And so, anyway, I'm open for any other questions. I think we can have a few more questions.
I'm curious why
Yeah.
you think about the fact that there's all women here tonight except for one very intelligent man who wants to be elected. But still, he's here. And I was just wondering,
Yeah.
is that often the case?
Yes.
What's that about?
I don't really know. I guess my answer has been like women are more open. However, I do have male clients and they are very successful. So the ones that are open and are willing to do the work, they've been very successful. So yeah. So that's how I'm answering. That's what I see. That's what I'm witnessing. So yeah, so I think you just have to be open. But I think, I think I know more women. Yeah, just in general, I think I know more women. So, but it's a nice observation, isn't it? Yeah. And I think that it's women's time to really step into their full potential. And I really want to support women. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm glad you're all here tonight. So anybody that would like a complimentary session with me to talk about this, I'm happy to do that. Oh, and I didn't even show you. So we're like tuning forks. I don't know where I forgot to put this in, but anyway, so we have one frequency. So this is my little metaphor, like what is your tuning fork vibrating at? And now, and what would you like it to be vibrating at?